Dynamo miss out on 3 points at home as Chicago earns a draw here in Houston. Highlights straight ahead. Known for the spectacular Adam Moffat is coming off one of the best performances of his career. We sit down for an interview with the Scottish midfielder. And this weekend brings the Columbus Crew to town, and we preview Saturday's showdown against the visitors from the Midwest, starting now on Dynamo Weekly. Hey there, folks. Welcome into Dynamo Weekly. I'm Sebastian Salazar. Thank you so much for joining us. Busy show, but let's start literally jumping right into the fire as we take a look back at Saturday and a 1-1 draw against Chicago. The team separated by just 5 points and 2 spots in the Eastern Conference standings. Picked this one up in the 11th minute. Patrick Nyarko, the speedster. He gets out wide with a cross that kind of turns into a shot. Tally Hall, quick reaction to knock it away for the corner kick. 3 minutes after that, the Dynamo dealt their first big blow of the evening. Andrew Driver goes down, but what an option here off the bench. Brad Davis checking in as he replaces the British midfielder. 17th minute. Corner kick for Houston. Boniek Garcia finds Cam Weaver with the header, and it's just turned away at the post. Good opportunity for the Dynamo. On the ensuing corner, Corey Ash gets the ball after it's cleared, sends it back into Bobby Boswell, and he scores. Or does he? The goal ruled offsides. Replays show it was close. Boswell probably had a pretty good case. 22nd minute. Things getting physical, real chippy. Brad Davis hacked down once. He pushes through it, then gets into the corner, thrown over by Bakary Soumare. No foul call as things were really starting to get heated on Saturday night. First half, added time. Davis with the set piece, right on goal. Perfect spot, but Paolo Tarnaghi punches it away. Very end of the half, Chicago nearly giving away a gift. Soumare, sloppy back pass. Cam Weaver there, almost beats Tarnaghi to it. But the Chicago goalie makes a goal-saving play. Second half, now 61st minute. Great cross-field build-up by the Dynamo. It ends up on Corey Ash's foot. He finds Brad Davis. Davis to Weaver. And Cam Weaver with his first MLS goal since May 28th of 2011. Houston goes up 1-0. But 2 minutes later, Chicago responds. It's Nyarko again. He speeds into the box, finds some space, and finds Mike McGee. McGee with his 13th goal of the season to tie Camilo Sanvezzo atop the MLS scoring charts. 76th minute, Chicago thinking upset. Chris Rolfe gets behind the Dynamo D and forces a great save from Tally Hall, who just gets down to make the stop. A minute later, end-to-end action. Boniek Garcia running the break, through ball to Giles Barnes, but he can't beat Tarnaghi one-on-one. The ball batted about, eventually falls to Brad Davis, but his shot just high and wide, and this game ends in a 1-1 draw.
Well, a little bit frustrating night. I mean, scored a great goal, gave up a softie, and then we had some chances to go back ahead, and it didn't happen. So looking at 3, we get 1.
I think it's been a while in league play, so definitely happy to get that goal. I had a few chances tonight, and happy to get 1. It would have been a lot nicer in a victory, but hopefully that's one of more to come.
Frustrating, you work so hard to get a goal, and then you kind of give up a softie, and we just didn't finish a lot of our other chances. Had one called back, probably shouldn't have been, but sometimes that's how your night goes. Nothing really goes your way. But it's on us. At the end of the day, we got to go out there and get the job done, and tonight we let it slip.
So here's a look at your updated Eastern Conference table. Sporting Kansas City sits atop the bunch with 36 points. New York and Montreal a single point back of KC. Philly with 34, they're having a great year. And here's where you start to get worried. The Dynamo technically in 6th place, or at least tied for 5th with New England, but Houston with a game in hand on the Revolution. Chicago on 25, and the Columbus Crew, who we'll see next Saturday here at BBVA Compass Stadium, sitting on 23. All right, time for our first break here on Dynamo Weekly. When we return here at BBVA Compass Stadium, Glenn Davis joins me on set as we break down Saturday's match against the Fire. Welcome back into Dynamo Weekly. Sebastian, Salazar, Glenn Davis here at BBVA Compass Stadium to talk about the match against Chicago. A 1-1 draw, and I think it's fair to say it was a game that kind of lacked some rhythm, lacked some chances, at least for long stretches.
Yeah, maybe so, but look, at the end of the day, if you look at this game, the Houston Dynamo created the chances that should have earned them 3 points here at home, and I think the real question right now, and sort of the pink elephant in the room is when are we going to get more production from strikers? Yes, Cam Weaver finally scored it, first time for a striker since May 8th. But look, Giles Barnes, Jason Johnson, one-on-one situations with Paulo Tornaghi. The Dynamo have to take these chances, so they take the full 3 points. On this night, they were the better team. They got to score these vital goals at vital times.
Maybe another source of concern, the injury to Andrew Driver, but what an option to have come off the bench in Brad Davis, and he has the assist that gets you that 1 point.
Yeah, the plan on this night was not to play Brad Davis so early. Dominic Kinnear had to play that card after Andrew Driver's injury. We're going to find out more about that because he is such a vital part of the Dynamo midfield. But Brad Davis, you know, like we know Brad Davis can do, comes up with that one vital play and squares the ball across the face of goal to Cam Weaver, and that on the night is the Dynamo goal. So with him in the game, Sebastian, you get more of the ball, you get more possibility, you get more ideas.
All right, Glenn, something we give the folks here that you can't get anywhere else is our inside look, where we really break down a play, and nowhere better to start than the Dynamo goal in the 61st minute.
All right, on today's Inside Look, well, the anatomy of a goal, the breakdown of a goal. Now, many times we see the end product in the goal score, but there's a number of subtle things that occur prior to make it all happen. So this Dynamo goal starts off with Oscar Boniek Garcia along the sideline. Now, again, he reminds us of how talented he is in tight areas and under pressure from opponents. He first brings the ball down wonderfully, protects it with his body. Now, at this moment, he pulls something out of the theater of the imagination. He rolls the ball with the sole of his foot while turning to split a pass between two Fire players to find Adam Moffat. At this moment, the attack has come to life. Now Moffat already knows he's got to change the point of attack, and this ball has to be switched to the far side of the field. The ball goes to the far side of the field to Corey Ash after a perfectly curled pass. This is not an easy thing to do. Now through ball movement, the Dynamo are shifting and moving Chicago across the field as a team, but the Fire clearly won't do it quick enough. Now 3 things to look at here to show you how the Fire are in trouble. Brad Davis has made the run into a huge space. Patrick Niarco has lost him. Fire center back Austin Berry is not positioned well enough to cover Niarco. Now Davis's run has pulled Berry out of the middle, as Berry should have been in a better position defensively to provide cover for Niarco. Berry now has left Cam Weaver, who ultimately gets the tap in. Changing the point of attack, started by Boniek Garcia, vital on this spectacular goal that unbalances the Chicago defense and leads to a Cam Weaver goal. This is the anatomy of a goal.
Well, one of the many elements of that goal, the pass from Corey Ash, and we see it time and time again. We saw it against Stoke City. His ability to distribute out of that left back spot, really key.
Well, that's a big key to the play, but I mean, the whole anatomy of a goal thing just reminds you that there's all these subtleties, including Corey's pass, that lead up to this goal. If Oscar Boniek Garcia doesn't spin out of the far side of the field, the play never materializes, it never comes to life. So it's interesting to look at goals and see the end product, but if you take it back a couple of passes and a couple of plays, there's always a lot to be learned.
You mentioned earlier in the segment the fact this was the first Dynamo goal by a striker since May 8th. If you had Cam Weaver in your striker to break that curse poll, you probably won a lot of money, right? I mean, this was not the guy we expected to do it.
Well, I think you would expect it because he got the start in the game, so he has an opportunity. But yeah, it's been a long time for Cam Weaver. Look, we have to certainly applaud his industriousness, his play as a striker. He's a big man. He throws himself at everything. Very brave, very courageous. Obviously, all the aerial play and the flick-ons and the things that he brings. It was great to see him get the goal, and congratulations to him. And let's hope it means the floodgates open now for the other strikers on the Dynamo as well.
May 28, 2011, the last time Cam Weaver scored an MLS goal. One guy that hasn't had trouble scoring goals, Mike McGee. He gets his 13th now, tied with Camilo up in Vancouver for the league lead. He just keeps finding ways to find the back of the net.
You know, I'm watching the game because I didn't have to do the TV broadcast, and I'm watching the game going, you know, where's Mike McGee tonight? And all of a sudden, Mike McGee scores a goal 2 minutes after the Dynamo had scored. And the Dynamo have to be pretty disappointed about that goal. It was a soft goal. It was a loss of possession close to goal. And you know, when you create a goal like the Dynamo did, with an unbelievable buildup, with so many elements that come into it, and then 2 minutes later have a mental lapse and give up a goal like that. That's punishing. That kind of hurts.
Both Dominic Kinnear and Bobby Boswell used the term softy to describe the goal after the game, so you know they felt like they let one get away. All right, time for a break here on Dynamo Weekly. When we return, we'll sit down with the Scotsman, the bearded bomber, Adam Moffat. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Dynamo Weekly. You know, Adam Moffat is known for many things. One, he's probably got the second most famous beard in all of Houston sports. And two, he's one of these guys that can always seem to hit the long ball. But the Scottish midfielder is about a lot more than just atom bombs and great facial hair. Here's our sit-down interview with Adam Moffat. Adam, thanks for joining us. Let's kind of start at the beginning. We always ask guys, how did they start in soccer? I'd imagine your path to the beautiful game may be a little bit different just growing up in Scotland.
Yeah, I actually was born in Scotland and then moved to Wales when I was 1. My dad's work was down there. So at a young age, I was pretty athletic. Used to do a lot of cross-country running. And down in Wales, they tried to get me to play rugby, but my mum didn't let me do that. I was a bit too physical. Yeah, because I was good at running, you know, it kind of made sense. So I started kicking a soccer ball when I was, or a football I should say, when I was 5 or 6, and moved back to Scotland when I was 7, and that was the first team I joined when I was around about 7, and when I moved back to Glasgow.
What's the kind of experience of growing up playing soccer in a country where it is the primary sport? Because we frankly don't have that here. A lot of your teammates played other sports as well growing up. I would imagine for you and your friends it was soccer and nothing else, right?
Yeah, that was it. I mean, we'd really, a couple of friends who maybe played tennis or rugby, but everyone played soccer, you know, and then you maybe played another sport. You know, coming over here and just seeing how many different sports people play and how good guys are at different sports. You know, we'll get the American football out and guys can throw that thing pretty far, you know, and I can't. Even shooting a basketball, you know, that's something I've never. So it was just all soccer, and we got some big teams in Scotland, you know, Rangers and Celtic, and those were the guys you looked up to and you wanted to get in their position.
You made the move stateside 6-7 years ago. What kind of prompted that, you know, the journey across the Atlantic for you?
It was a funny opportunity to come up. You know, I was almost done playing soccer. I was in the 3rd division in Scotland. I'd been there 6-7 months, and I was working part-time at Gap as well in Glasgow, so wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was thinking possibly physiotherapy or something like that, maybe try and stay in the game. So all of a sudden I get a phone call out of the blue saying you want to come to Cleveland, Ohio for 4 months in the summer and play for a team in the USL. I'd never heard of the USL. And Cleveland, Ohio, you heard of that? And I heard of LeBron James, but that was it. So yeah, it was a funny opportunity. It was a great opportunity. You know, I thought summertime I'll go for it, and it worked out.
I'm going to throw through 2 terms at you.
Yep.
You tell me which one you like more. Atom bomb, Moffat rocket.
They're both smart, clever. The Moffat rocket I heard when I was in Columbus. I didn't score nearly as many nice goals as I've done since I've come here, but I've heard that a while. But Atom bomb was the first I heard a couple of years ago. I probably like that one. I think that's.
And it's on a shirt, right?
It's on a shirt. I've seen a shirt. I've got that shirt. Yeah. I wore that shirt the other day and around the house, and my daughter was pointing at my face saying "Dada," so it was pretty cool. It's a cool shirt.
And then given right back, and Moffat takes a shot.
Where does that come from, the propensity for the long ball? I mean, everybody at this level can hit it from distance, but you seem to kind of find the right moments.
Yeah, it's hard to describe. You know, I don't. You know, I think if I go into a game and I think, oh, I'm going to go shoot here, you know, it's almost automatic. I think it's just there's a split second where it's like, I don't want to say it just becomes automatic and I just shoot the ball. I don't care if it's 20 yards or 40 yards, you know. If you get a good connection on it, you never know what can happen. And most of the goals I've scored, it's kind of caught the keeper off guard. So
I think most of the goals you've scored have caught you off guard. Your celebration is unique, and I think some of your teammates would like to see something a little bit better. Can we get anything other than the turn and like, oh, I scored?
Yeah, it's a surprise, when you do score from. Whenever I score is a surprise to me, but yeah, maybe I'll work on that next time there.
Your teammates kind of were all after the game in New England where you scored twice. We're all talking about kind of their reaction. What was the best reaction that you heard in the week after that? Because I know it wasn't just your teammates, it's your family and friends in Scotland. The video on YouTube was viewed, I think, 250,000 times. So the quality of that goal really reached people.
Yeah, that could have been my mom that viewed that all those times though. Yeah, I got so many text messages and emails from people after those goals. It's great.
You mentioned your daughter earlier. We now found out you're going to have a son. You love all your kids equally, but it's got to be really exciting for a father, a professional athlete, to have the son, and I'm sure it's something that you can share in the game with him that'll be unique.
Yeah, I hope so. And even my daughter, if she wants to play soccer, I'd love to share that with her. But yeah, just having a boy, it's going to be another 4 months until he's here. But yeah, it's great, and hopefully I'm still playing when he remembers. We'll see. I'm 27 right now, so if he's 4 or 5, I could possibly still be playing, and it'd be great for him to see that.
All right, great sitting down with Adam, and also fun to get a perspective on soccer and really MLS from across the pond. Time for a break here on Dynamo Weekly. When we return, Glenn Davis back on set. We're talking the Columbus Crew and Saturday's matchup here at BBVA Compass Stadium. Don't go anywhere.
And here comes Kofi Sarkozy. Huge space on the right side. Sarkozy whips it back. What a goal! Warren Craval has side-footed it in. After an electric run by Kofi Sarkozy, the Dynamo are up 1-0 here on the road in the 31st minute.
Welcome back to Dynamo Weekly. Coming up this weekend for Houston, it is the Columbus Crew here at BBVA Compass Stadium, an 8 o'clock start on Saturday night. The Crew in 8th place, 7 points behind the Dynamo. What are your opening thoughts on this one?
Opening thoughts on the Crew. Look, we know what to expect from the Columbus Crew. Federico Higuain is the playmaker. That's the guy that they want to get on the ball. Dominic Oduro will make the runs in front of the ball, and then Jairo Arrieta can create a chance for himself around the penalty area. Those are the 3 danger men. It's a hard-working team, but it's a team that comes off a very brutal loss in Toronto. Gave up 2 goals in the final 8 minutes, one of them in stoppage time. They had a full 3 points in the bag, so they will be desperate coming here to BBVA Compass Stadium.
The last time these two teams met, June 1st, a 1-1 tie-up in Columbus. Higuain was dominant that day, all over the field. What do the Dynamo have to do to get him off the ball?
Always a good question. You can't totally control the player with that quality and that characteristics. He is the orchestrator. He's the guy that can see the game. So you gotta obviously get real good pressure on him, not allow him to get his head up and have a lot of time on the ball. It has to be done collectively. And the farther away from goal you can push him, the deeper he has to come to collect the ball, the better. But those moments called transition, when the ball's lost, and in that vital 2 and 3 seconds, when you go from attacking to defending, the Houston Dynamo will have to know where Federico Higuain is.
You mentioned Dominic Oduro. On the weekend, he gets his 9th goal of the season. Oduro's a guy that you can't really say his name in Houston, but he is really lighting it up for the Crew, and that speed is always dangerous.
You can say his name, and by the way, he's got the greatest nickname in Major League Soccer. They call him the Cunning Spider. And the Spider struck again last weekend, and I got to tell you, he is dangerous. I mean, he can absolutely fly. I think he's the fastest guy in Major League Soccer. Should be a wonderful matchup to watch him against Coriash on the right side. But if Higuain gets the ball, rest assured, Oduro's going to be making runs to get in front of the ball so Higuain can find him.
They give up a couple late goals against Toronto FC. They lose the match. Where can the Dynamo kind of attack this team defensively?
Well, they got to get after him on the flanks. I think you're going to see, again, it's going to be a 5-man midfield for the Columbus Crew. It's going to be thick. It's going to be heavy. I think if you look at the Toronto game from last weekend and how they play, you can get a lot of ideas out of how they will play on the road. That's the way they're going to do it here. It'll be thick and heavy. They're going to look, when they win the ball, to quickly find Higuain. And then Higuain's got to pull the strings and come up with the possibility and the plays to release guys like Oduro and Jairo Arrieta.
Will Bruin set to return from the national team? Do we just expect him to slot in up top next to Giles Barnes?
That's going to be interesting because he didn't get any games or any minutes in the Gold Cup. So, you know, if a guy's around for 3 weeks practicing and training, he really has not had any real games. So does Dominic Kinnear put him back in the starting lineup? Dom has always said you don't lose your place if you go to the U.S. national team. So it's going to be interesting. I think Dom's going to have to determine and will determine how sharp he is in training.
All right, we've hit the 90th minute here on Dynamo Weekly. That means stoppage time, a moment for one last take. Glenn, start with you.
All right, I'm going to start with the Kings of CONCACAF. Yes, that's the United States national team. After winning the Gold Cup in Chicago in front of 57,000 fans, Jurgen Klinsmann right now has this team playing together. Jurgen Klinsmann right now has this team buying into everything that he's doing. It wasn't quite like that a couple of months ago when everybody had the knives out on Jurgen Klinsmann and really wondered if he was the right leader for the U.S. national team. The good times are here right now. Klinsmann has proven out the depth. The players, every time you hear them speak, are highly complimentary of Jurgen Klinsmann and his methods right now. Let's just hope now it carries over for the Kings of CONCACAF into World Cup qualifying.
Certainly an exciting Gold Cup for the Americans. All right, my stoppage time thought is this. It's All-Star Week in MLS, and this time of year, we always start to hear the rumblings on Twitter and on the internet about what should Major League Soccer really be doing with its All-Star game. Would you do an Eastern Conference versus Western Conference to try and get more players involved? Maybe an international team against an American team? I love the idea of exposing more fans to Major League Soccer's brand by playing a big-time international team. It'll be Roma this year. It looks like it could be somebody even bigger next year when they take the game to Portland. So I think the idea that MLS has right now is good. Sure, we can complain about it, but you got to think, is this the best way to showcase Major League Soccer to the Euro snob type fans that maybe don't see MLS on a weekly basis? All right, that'll do it for us here on Dynamo Weekly. For Glenn Davis, I'm Sebastian Salazar. Remember, this week's match, Saturday, here at BBVA Compass Stadium against the Columbus Crew, will be on KPRC, so we'll catch you then.